Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Captain's Log. Today we will be doing a very special episode, as it is our first bonus episode that we have ever done on the podcast. It is part of a series that we are currently titling The Lost Logs. Whether this remains the case for the future is to be determined. Today we will be doing a reading of an old Vincent Price radio drama that premiered on November 15th, 1949 as part of the serial Escape, which brought to the radio a bunch of stories and tales of suspense and thrills. It will feature myself, Jose Valle Jr., and my co-host Mason Schrader, of course, and will feature the voice talents of previous Captain's Log guest Max Benyon. We hope that you have a safe and happy Halloween and that you enjoy this very special episode of Captain's Log. Three Skeleton Key is a story of three lighthouse keepers on a lonely lighthouse off the steaming jungle coast of French Guiana in a nightmare world of terror and violence. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is The Lost Logs, Three Skeleton Key. Picture this place, a gray tapering cylinder welded by iron rods and concrete. To the key itself, a bare black rock, 150 feet long, maybe 40 wide. That's at low tide. At high tide, just the light, rising 110 feet straight out of the ocean. And all about it, the churning water. Gray-green, scum-dappled, warm as soup and swarming with gigantic bat-like devilfish. Great violet schools of Portuguese man-of-war. And yes, sharks. The big ones. The 15-footers. And as if this wasn't enough, there was a hot, dank, rotten-smelling wind that came at us day and night off the jungle swamps of the mainland. A wind that smelled like death. Set in the base of the light was a watertight bronze door. And in you went. And up, yes, up and round, past the tanks of oil and the coils of rope, cases of wicks, racks of lanterns, sacks of spuds, and cartons and cans, and up, round and round. Over the light storeroom was the food storeroom, and over the food storeroom was the bunk room, where the three of us slept, and over the bunk room was the living and cooking room, and over the living and cooking room was the light. She was a beauty. Balanced like a ballerina on the glistening steel axle of her rotary mechanism. At night you'd lie there on the stone deck of the gallery with the light revolving smoothly and quietly over your head, easing her bright wide eye 360 degrees around the horizon. You'd lie there watching to see that the feeders kept working, that everything ran right. It wouldn't be bad. The other two fellows snoring in their sacks 2 levels down, you'd smoke your pipe to kill the stink of the wind, and it wouldn't be bad. About those other two, Louis and August. What a pair. Louis, he was a headman, was a big fellow from the Basque country, black beard, a little hard black eyes, and a pair of arms that, I tell you, those arms were as big around as my legs. Yes, headman he was, and what word he let go was law. Silent fellow, and although I spent my first 2 weeks trying to strike up a real conversation, the most I could ever get out of him was,
Jean, I took up this profession because I don't like people much. They talk too much. This, it's quiet work. Light tending, let's keep it that way. You're getting to be as bad as August. I thought maybe for once they'd send me somebody who could keep their mouth shut.
That was Louis. And when he accused me of becoming like August, I quieted down, because August was the talkingest man I'd ever met. The talkingest and the ugliest. He was a hunchback, stood 4 feet high, had red hair and big blue eyes. It seems he'd been an actor in Paris.
Played in over 200 different productions, dear boy. At the Grand Quignot. Oh, but it was monstrous horrible, the way he used to scare the audience. I was hated. Yes. They used to throw things and hiss and bare their teeth at me. Finally, it got too bad. I couldn't stand it any longer. I gave up the theater. My nerves, you understand. Yes, gave it up completely. I really did. I couldn't stand it any longer.
It all started one morning at 2:30. I was on watch, lying in the cool stone deck, pulling on my pipe, staring at the blackness, the phosphorescent combers and the big yellow stars, when, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something show up for a second. Something the light had touched, far off. I waited for her to come around again, and when she did, there it was. A 3-master, a big one, about half a mile off and coming down out of the north-northwest, coming straight for us. You must understand our light was where it was for very good reason. Dangerous submerged reefs surrounded us and ships kept clear, but this one, this sailing vessel, was coming straight on. I went over to the gallery door and yelled down, Louis! Louis!
Huh? What is it?
Ship! Headed for the reef!
I'm coming right up.
I had the glasses out now. I couldn't read her name, but I could see her quite plainly. As sail set, the foam creaming away under her bow. Her beautiful lines. A Dutch ship, I guessed her. But why didn't she turn? Every time it passed, our light hit her with the glare of day.
Ship? Where?
Northwest. The light will touch her in a moment.
Ah, well, can't she see us?
Look at her. She just keeps coming on.
The squareheads.
What is it? What is it?
Watch. Northwest.
Ah, I know what it is.
What?
The Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman. We did a play about her once. Oh, what a performance. You ghastly galleon, hag-ridden, curse-driven, must on and on.
Oh, shut up, will you? She's loofing.
Yes.
It's a sloppy way to come about. She's derelict, that's it.
Derelict?
Abandoned. Crew left her for some reason or another, but instead of sinking, she's gone on, running before every wind.
She'll not run long. Not with those reefs to break her up.
A beautiful ship. Now, why would men leave a beautiful ship like that?
She didn't ram us, although we expected it. But as we waited for the crash, she loofed again, caught some odd gust and went about. We watched her the rest of those black hours, heeling and rocking, pushed and pulled by every stray wind, every freak current. Watched her until the dawn came, till the sea turned from black to pearly gray, and on she came again, heading for us. We all had our glasses trained on her now.
August. Ugh, you can kill the light.
Right, Chief.
She doesn't look so good by daylight. Think she'll ground this time? I say, do you think she'll ground this time?
This is impossible. Absolutely impossible.
What?
Here, take my glasses. They're better than yours.
All right. What is it you're... I had to focus, and then my breath froze in my throat. The decks were swarming with a dark brown carpet that looked like a gigantic fungus, but undulating. And on the masts and yards, the guys and all were hundreds, no thousands, no... I don't know, an inestimable number of tremendous rats.
You see them.
Yes, I see them.
Now we know why she's derelict.
Yes. Now we know.
What are you two doing? Here, give me a look.
Yes, give him the glasses. Take a good look, Chatterbox. Give you something else to talk about.
She's still headed for us.
Yes.
If she's going to turn, she'd better turn soon.
Suppose she doesn't?
You mean suppose she piles up on the quay?
It's his low tide.
Yes, it is.
Well, where's all the conversation, August? Huh? Here, you want the glasses again? You want another look?
No, No.
She's still coming on.
Go away! Go away!
Turn, I say. I pray you turn.
Cracked up.
The rats! Look! On the water! Like a carpet!
My God, they're swimming.
Sure, they're swimming. Those are ship's rats.
But they're swimming for the rocks.
The door below. It's open.
Huh? Well, come on! And down we went, racing down the stone stairs, taking them 3 and 4 at a time. Scared? You bet we were scared.
August, you get the windows. Maybe they can climb, we don't know.
Right, Chief. But hurry. Hurry.
Look, you see them?
No? Oh. Yes, I do. Up at the other end of the rock.
Look at them.
Millions!
Ah, they smell us. Here they come. Well, close the door.
I can't, it's stuck.
Here, let me.
Made it.
Oh, that was close.
Look, one got in. There, look, there.
Well, get him.
Watch it. Kick him. He was as big as a tomcat, bigger, and his eyes were wild and red. His teeth long and sharp and yellow. He went for us, starving, ravenous, and we fought him. Fought that one rat all over the room. It was, oh, believe me, I don't exaggerate, it was like fighting a panther.
I got him.
We'd better get aloft.
Yeah.
As we ran up the winding staircase, we passed the tiny windows of the various levels, and at every one was a thick, wriggling, screaming curtain of brown fur. I was ahead of Louis, and I dreaded each successive level. Suppose they had found a way in.
Look at them. Will you look at them?
It's a nightmare.
Will you look at them?
The air of the gallery was thick and fetid with the stink of them. The light was dim, brown, filtered through the crawling mass that swarmed over the glass, and all about us. We couldn't see the sky, nothing but them. Their red eyes, their claws, their wriggling, hairy snouts, and their teeth. The rats. They screamed and howled and threw themselves against the glass. They were starving, and we three, we stood very quietly. Oh, very, very quietly in the center of the glass room, under our beautiful light. And we waited.
What can we do? What can we do, Chief?
Take it easy. Take it easy.
I can't. I just can't.
Won't do any good to stand here and shake.
That's right.
Go away. Go away, do you hear me? Go away this instant!
They won't go away. Not until...
Finish it, Chief. Not until... what?
Not until they've been fed.
You can take just so much horror and then you get used to it. And they were interesting to watch, you know. They couldn't understand the glass. They could see us and they could rush at us, but that thin, invisible barrier held them off. Stopped them. From time to time we caught a glimpse of the rocks below. More rats down there, swarming brown velvet in the bright tropical sunlight. And then the tide began to rise. If only it drowned some of them.
Shipwrats don't drown. No, sir. You can't drown one of them. They're all climbing up the tower.
This bunch around us is getting thicker.
Yeah. Say, what's the time?
6:15.
You've got first watch on.
Right.
Wake me at 10.
I will.
Come along, August.
It was getting dark. One side of the room was lit a soft, filtered red. Sunset through the rats. Oh, very pretty. I set the wicks, checked my fuel, and then lit the lamp. It caught them, lit them in their gigantic wriggling web of pale, hairless bellies, twitching red tails, bright eyes, and then I started the rotary motor. The light drove them mad, As she swung slowly and smoothly about, she blinded them in the fierce, stabbing bar of light, moving continually about, ever turning, ever touching, ever moving around, and they twitching and shuddering, eyes flaming when they were struck by the light, the bright light moving, and behind on the dark side of the room so close I dared not turn my back. But you can't help turning your back when you're in a room made of glass. On the dark side of the room you couldn't see them, but only their eyes. Thousands of points of blank red light blinking and twinkling like the stars of hell. And when I came up into the gallery early the next morning, there stood August, his back to me. He was bowing to the rats, waving his arms and making a speech.
My dear, dear audience, I'm going to play once again that magnificent role which made me the toast of the Père Theatre. Prélat, the evil genius of the medieval underworld. I am he who did guide the dark soul of Desrochelles into the nether parts. Do not be frightened, little children. I will not hurt you much.
He kept turning. I stood staring at him, horror-struck, but he didn't notice me. The man had gone mad. He kept turning, telling his stories to all the rats, leaving not one out. August! August!
Ah! Another one. A latecomer. Take a seat on the aisle, dear patron.
August, stop it! Stop it!
The blood-stained monster was my partner in iniquity. Together we disemboweled over 400 little children, leaving their warm, blood-spattered...
He didn't stop. He went on, bowing and scraping to the rats, his big blue eyes rolling and winking, his wild red hair waving about him. I grabbed him by the arms and slapped his face. He looked at me like a child, and then his face screwed up. He looked as though he were about to cry. Go below! Go on!
Oh. Very well, then. Later, my dear audience. Later. Matinee today.
Sure, he was crazy, but I guess we all were. A few hours later, he came back up and caught Louis and me teasing the rats. Yeah, sounds horrible, but it was fun. We would get right up against the glass and make faces at them. It drove them crazy. They would scratch away trying to get at our eyes. Louis was even cuter about it. He'd pull a piece of bread out of his pocket and press it against the glass. The rats would scramble into a solid ball, biting each other, clustering like grapes. From time to time, a whole knot of them would slip and fall the 110 feet to the surf below.
Look at the sharks.
They're eating them.
Those sharks are our friends. Here, and I'll get another bunch together. Here, my beauties. That's it. Pile up, kill each other. There they go.
August joined in, too. Very ingenious, August. He'd learned that if he spread-eagled himself against the glass, they'd bunch up and bundle against his figure. Then he'd leap back.
Look! My portrait in rats.
It went on all day, and then I was lying in bed. It was about midnight. I was very tired, and I was just beginning to fall off to sleep when I became conscious of a new sound. Couldn't figure it out at first. I got up, lit the lamp, and went to the window. Even as I looked out, I saw one of the panes begin to sag in. They had eaten the wood away. Louis, come quick!
What? What is it?
They found a way in. I held the glass with my hand. They were still going crazy, and assured of the success of this maneuver, were all nibbling away at the wood. Louis ran below and then returned with a large sheet of tin. We spread it against the window and hammered it into place. Even as we did so, we felt the heavy bodies thudding against the other side as the window gave way.
There. That ought to hold them. If it doesn't, we're done for.
What, rats can't eat tin?
No, they can't.
What was that?
I don't know. It came from below.
The storeroom window.
They're in. They're swarming up the stairs.
Drop the trap!
Right.
2 of them got in.
Let's go after them then.
We didn't have to go after them, they came at us. I leapt to one side and grabbed a Merlin spike, swung and smashed one in midair.
Ah!
I whirled to see Louis with the other. It had ripped his hand open and the blood was pouring out. He held his hand aloft and kicked at the snarling rat. I stepped and swung and got him.
Oh, my hand! He got my hand!
That's both of them, Louis. I'll get you something to tie that up.
Blood. Look at it, my blood. I'm bleeding.
Don't worry about it, Louis. Here, I'll wind this kerchief around it. It'll be okay.
Blood.
There. That's not bad, just the flesh. And then I became conscious of a new sound. They were gnawing their way through the wooden trap door. I watched the wood fascinated, and even as I did, it began to give way, and a bristly, whiskering nose showed through. Louis, we've got to go up! The next level was the living quarters and kitchen. I slammed the trap door. But it too was wood.
My blood. What are we gonna do?
I don't know, they'll be through this one in a minute.
The gallery. The trapdoor in the gallery is metal.
Good. Come on. We made it. We lay across the trapdoor exhausted, while below us the rats took over the entire tower. I could hear them howling and fighting over our food supply, our water, our leather. And all about us the others screamed and glared in at us, swayed in a tangled mass, hypnotized by the ever-turning light. By morning the air in the little room was horrible. Until now we'd been getting air from the tower below. Now that it was sealed off and so was all our food and water, we lay exhausted, panting, waiting. And the hours crawled on. I was almost dozing from fatigue when I saw a sight that brought me to fast.
Would you like to come in, my beauties? Would you? I hold the powers of life and death, and I can let you in, you know.
August was standing by the glass, and in one hand he held a big wrench. He was tapping the glass gently, not quite hard enough to break it. I eased myself to my feet and slowly, very slowly, tiptoed toward him.
All I have to do is tap just a little harder and...
I found a coil of wire in the toolkit and I trussed him up, fastened him to the stanchion in the center of the room. Louis was of no help. He lay on his side looking at his bloody hand, weak and sick as a baby. So there I was, a lunatic and a coward for company, and all about watching our little drama, the rats. The day dragged by. The supply boat wasn't due for another 12 days. I don't know what they could have done if they had come, and we had only one way of summoning them. That was to shoot off distress rockets. But the rockets were 4 floors below, and even if they'd been right there in the gallery, I couldn't have opened the window to fire them. That night I tended to the light, but its flame was devouring our oxygen. The following day we lay thirst-tormented, starving, waiting, and the following night I again tended the light. But the small supply of spare wicking we kept in the gallery had become exhausted, and quite suddenly at about midnight the light went out. There was nothing I could do. Wicks were stored 3 levels below. Nothing I could do. Nothing. From time to time I'd strike a match to see the clock. And when I did, it lit up the million red eyes about us. All about, watching, waiting. Below it had grown quiet. They'd cleaned us out, and now they too were waiting. All waiting. And the rats quite suddenly were silent. And then I heard it. And then I saw the sky and the stars. The rats were gone. I went to the glass, and out there on the water a small freighter, a banana boat, showing a few lights, came softly and innocently toward us. Our light was out. They didn't know. I wanted to open the windows to call out to them, to warn them somehow, but I was afraid. What if the rats were hiding from me, tricking me? She grounded very softly on a reef not 200 yards from the quay. Grounded so gently that the man playing the cornet, was he a passenger, crewman off watch, didn't even stop playing. They tried washing her back off. I could have told them to save their fuel. The tide was rising, would have floated her free, and I waited. That's all. That's the story. The sun came up and there wasn't a rat on the whole quay. Every last one of that terrible army had left us, gone back to sea on their new ship. August, insane asylum. He never recovered, and Louis, they took him into Cayenne where he died of blood poisoning from his bite. Yes, that's the whole of it. And if you'll excuse me now, I must go set my traps. No, mouse traps. No rats in this lighthouse, I should say not. Life in the lights isn't bad, but sometimes when I see a strange vessel approaching, I get a little nervous. Sure, somewhere on the seas there's a little banana boat without a crew. That is, without a human crew. And that was Three Skeleton Key. For Max Benyon and Mason Schrader, I've been Jose Valle Jr., and this has been a bonus episode of Captain's Log. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please write into captainslogcast@gmail.com or our various social media on Twitter and Instagram as well as YouTube, and let us know if you enjoyed this and if you'd like to hear more bonus episodes in the future like this or on various different topics. You can find me at social media at j.valle_jr, and you can find Mason on Twitter at MasonSHRADER, Mason Schrader on Twitter. And we will have a link to Max's work as well in the show notes. But that is the end. Thank you everybody for listening. We hope you have a great, fantastic Halloween night. This is the end of this transmission. Stay safe out there.